The stars shimmered like cold diamonds outside the observation dome, 1,000 alien constellations scattered across unfamiliar space. Ambassador Elena Markovic stood at the center of the Galactic Coalition's High Council chamber, her posture regal despite the tension vibrating through her muscles. She was the first human to ever address the Council in person, and every eye, compound, slitted, or otherwise, was fixed on her. They didn't expect much. That was clear from the start. A ripple of telepathic whispers moved through the insectoid Delari, followed by dismissive tail flicks from the scaled Jurati. Even the Chancellor, an aged Uruk male whose gnarled tusks signified wisdom, blinked slowly with polite boredom. "You must understand," Elena said, voice measured but firm, "Earth is not interested in becoming a protectorate. We seek partnership, not paternalism." A soft murmur swept the chamber, half surprise, half amusement. From his platform, Admiral Kelvor leaned forward. The Zarathi war leader's skin gleamed like obsidian glass, his golden eyes unblinking. "You are small," he said in his gravel-rough voice. "Your world is fragile. You should be grateful we've granted you attention at all." Elena smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Fragile things tend to survive by becoming sharp. The chamber fell silent. Later, aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel, Elena stood alone in the docking corridor. Her comm pinged once. "Vance, how did it go?" She typed back, like showing a matchstick to a bonfire. "They'll underestimate us. Vance, let them." Earth watched and learned. While the Coalition debated policies and border disputes, humans studied everything: language, defense systems, fleet formations, patterns of logic. They traded low-tier tech for information, sent their best minds into deep space, and listened. General Elias Vance, head of Earth's Unified Defense Command, wasn't a man for speeches. He was a strategist, forged from years of planetary conflicts and failed diplomacy. To him, the Coalition wasn't a dream, it was a risk. One that needed managing. When reports came in of GC fleets amassing near Jupiter orbit, he didn't flinch. "How long until they reach Earth's perimeter?" he asked. 18 hours, replied his aide. "They're cloaked under an inspection directive." Vance gave a nod. "Evacuate the orbital rings. Put every city shield on standby. And send a message to the Council." "What should we say?" He turned slowly. "Say this: if you come in peace, come unarmed. If you come with weapons, prepare to be buried with them." The attack came anyway. It wasn't a full-scale invasion. More like a show of force. Kelvor's fleet fired controlled salvos at major Earth hubs: New York, Lagos, Tokyo. Shields absorbed most of it, but power grids collapsed, hospitals overloaded, and too many died before reinforcements stabilized the zones. They didn't occupy. They didn't stay. They just left, mission complete. In the High Council's private channel, Kelvor justified the strike. Earth was escalating. We responded with proportionate containment. A lesson, not a war. Vance stood in the command center, watching the satellite footage. Smoldering cityscapes, a child's broken doll in the rubble, emergency teams digging with their bare hand. His jaw clenched. Elena's voice came through from orbit. "They think we'll fold. They don't understand us." "No," Vance said softly. "They don't." The Coalition framed it as diplomacy gone awry. A regrettable but necessary correction. The galactic news cycles reported Earth's response as conspicuously muted. But beneath the silence, something stirred. The world began to shift. Factories transitioned overnight from commerce to defense production. Suboceanic facilities powered up. Old alliances rekindled. The moon's far side, long kept quiet, revealed its real purpose: launch sites, railguns, and fusion-hardened hangars. When the Coalition sent another envoy to apologize, Earth didn't answer. They listened, watched, prepared. And they remembered. The scars left behind weren't just physical. The people didn't wail in the streets or burn flags. They grieved in quiet resolve. The kind of grief that sinks deep, roots into the bones, and waits. Not for pity. For justice. At night, in the halls beneath the Andes Defense Command, Elias Vance walked alone past the names etched into polished steel. Civilians. Children. First responders. All lost in the name of someone else's lesson. He paused before one name. Sophie Vance, age 8. No tears. Just silence. He turned to his aide. Schedule a meeting with the council. They haven't requested one. He looked up, his eyes steel-hard. They will. The council chamber was different this time. The last time General Elias Vance stood here, it had been Elena Markovic's place. She had come with measured diplomacy, the soft step of peace. He came now with boots that echoed across the polished obsidian floor like war drums. No aide accompanied him. No flags, no ceremonial robes. Just the quiet weight of silence that followed him like a shadow. Seated across the semicircle dais were the same species that had watched Elena with bored eyes, the Delari clicking quietly among themselves, the Jurati with their coiled tails draped arrogantly over the rails, the Uruk blinking in ritualized disdain. Admiral Kelvor sat at the center now, his frame slouched in his seat like a bored predator. He wore a ceremonial blade. A performance, not a threat. Vance didn't sit. He stood in the center of the chamber and tapped a small holo-display embedded in his wrist. The room dimmed as images filled the air, Earth cities, smoke curling into bruised skies. Children being lifted from rubble. Human doctors with dirt-streaked faces administering aid with trembling hands. The images rotated slowly. No one spoke. Vance's voice, when it came, was quiet. This is what you called containment. Kelvor shifted, clearly annoyed. Your species is emotional. Such responses are expected. But strategic corrections are. You attacked our home. The words weren't shouted, but they dropped like iron into the silence. No declaration of war. No negotiation. Just an inspection fleet that opened fire. Vance's voice remained steady, but something flared in his eyes, a rage that had been banked, controlled, and compressed into something far colder than fire. You think we overreacted? Kelvor's tone was derisive. You think your world is so important? I think your coalition has mistaken restraint for weakness. There was a soft intake of breath from someone, a sound of realization or fear. Vance walked forward, slowly, deliberately. The holos shifted again, now showing alien ships descending on Earth, the moment orbital strikes hit civilian centers. Another tap. A map of Earth's defenses lit up. A different kind of image, clean, organized, full of precision and preparation. You assumed Earth had no teeth. That our history made us primitive. But while your council debated, we prepared. Quietly. Thoroughly. The Jurati diplomat leaned forward, forked tongue flicking in irritation. You had no right to militarize beneath coalition oversight. Such actions violate. You attacked hospitals, schools. You killed my daughter. Silence. There was no diplomatic immunity for that sentence. No posturing. Just raw, brutal truth. Kelvor blinked, confused for a moment. We targeted communication centers. She was 8. For the first time, the chamber seemed to contract around him. No one met his gaze. Even Kelvor turned his eyes away. Vance stepped back and pressed the holo-display again. This time, the images showed something else. Massive structures rising from Earth's oceans, black angular ships unlike anything the Coalition had catalogued. Factories stretching across the Martian valleys. Swarms of autonomous drones assembling in silence. These are not weapons of conquest, he said. They were built for one reason, survival. For centuries, we feared what might come from the stars. So we built in shadows, stored in deep vaults, prepared for the day when survival required more than hope. You are threatening us, the Delari whispered. No. I'm informing you. The time for threats passed when you fired the first shot. The holos winked off. Vance looked at each representative, not with anger now, but something heavier. You sit in this chamber because your species once crawled out of war and chose reason. So did we. But Earth doesn't forget. We bury our dead deep and build above their memory. And when we say never again, we mean it. The Uruk Chancellor raised one clawed hand, voice gravel-thick. What is it you seek, General? Vance regarded him, eyes narrowing. Not vengeance, he said slowly. That would mean burning your worlds and leaving nothing behind. We could. That temptation exists, and it is not without support. He let the weight of that hang in the air. But we choose justice. You broke your own laws. You lost control of your admiralty. Now you'll answer for it. And if we refuse? Kelvor sneered. Vance turned toward him fully, his stance rigid. Then the next time I return to this chamber, he said, I won't be alone. I'll come with fleets, with names etched into hulls made from the wreckage of your first attack. And I won't be asking questions. I'll be writing history. The chamber held its breath. Kelvor opened his mouth, but no words came. For all his pride, all his disdain, he saw it now, in the set of Vance's shoulders, in the unwavering steadiness of his voice. Humanity wasn't bluffing. Vance stepped back. We will give you time to convene. Make your decisions carefully. Earth has made hers. And then he turned, cloak catching the light as he walked toward the exit. The doors slid open, and as he stepped into the corridor, he paused once, just long enough to send a final message through the council channel. We didn't ask for war. But we will end it if we must. The stars above the Kurel system shimmered with deceptive calm. Beneath that quiet canvas, the air trembled with the electric pulse of conflict. Coalition early warning stations blinked offline one by one, silent and bloodless. No alarm sounded, only confusion, followed by void. Then the sky split open. Human warships emerged from folded space like wolves slipping through a tear in the fabric of reality. Black-hulled, sharp-edged, and utterly alien to the Coalition's sensibilities, they made no attempt at introduction. No demands. No broadcast. Only precision. The first orbital dock disintegrated under kinetic impact. The second was already empty. Its crew had fled before the targeting locks finalized. The humans didn't fire at escape pods. They weren't here for vengeance. They were here to break the wheel. On board the Coalition command cruiser Verity's Oath, Subcommander Talvek watched in mute disbelief as 3 squadrons vanished from the tactical screen in under 30 seconds. They're not using plasma, he murmured. What is that? No known signature, his science officer whispered. And they're jamming our predictive AI. They don't just strike. They unthink us. It wasn't just firepower. It was doctrine, fast, adaptive, surgically brutal. The humans didn't aim to destroy everything. They struck the communication hubs, energy cores, decision centers. They left hospitals untouched. Civilian craft were bypassed without so much as a scan. The message was clear. This isn't genocide. This is correction. Across 6 systems, Coalition fleets scrambled. Admirals barked orders with trembling voices. Protocols failed them. The humans didn't fight like anyone the galaxy had seen, they struck like memory. Like a species that had spent generations studying war not to glorify it, but to outlive it. General Elias Vance sat aboard the Deliverance, Earth's flagship, hands clasped behind his back as the latest report came in. No visible emotion. Only small movements, a blink, a shift of weight, that betrayed the monstrous weight pressing down on him. Casualties? He asked. Minimal, replied his aide. They didn't resist. Just surrendered. Vance nodded. Forward the surrender codes. Begin disarmament. No cruelty. Of course. He turned to the viewport, watching another Coalition ship drift, engines powered down, lights dimmed. It looked like a monument already, stone in space. He didn't feel pride. Not really. Only a slow ache in his chest where fury had burned clean through. He had become the thing he feared most, the one who must choose what survives. 3 days later, the council reconvened under emergency quorum. They met not on the capital world, but on a neutral platform, a signal that even their own halls no longer felt safe. This time, Vance didn't enter alone. Behind him stood Admiral Tetsuya, Commander Koumbatha, and Dr. Anya Lumen, the architects of Earth's response. Each bore the insignia of a world once ignored. Each had lost someone to the first attack. They carried themselves with silence sharpened into purpose. No one from the coalition interrupted. Not now. Chancellor Vor looked smaller than before, shoulders slumped, tusks dulled by the slow grind of defeat. He tried to speak, but Vance raised a hand, not in command but in restraint. "No speeches," Vance said. "This isn't theater." He gestured to the hollow display behind him. It lit with the coalition charter, section by section, clause by clause. Each one marked in red where it had been broken during the strike on Earth. "You wrote these laws," Vance said. "You built a council to protect the vulnerable. But when Earth called for aid, we got silence. No one argued. We don't want to destroy you. If that were our goal, you wouldn't be sitting here. We want something you forgot how to give: accountability." He tapped once more. New text appeared. Earth Emergency Resolution 01 Sigma. Reformation of the Galactic Council. "Effective immediately," he said, "a new interspecies defense commission will be formed. No species may authorize military action without full quorum. Earth will lead it for the next century. Consider that your probation." "And Kelvor?" one voice asked from the shadows. "Stripped of rank," Vance replied coldly. "He will return to Earth for trial under our laws. Not yours. He started this. He'll see what justice looks like from the side of the dead." Murmurs filled the chamber, but no objections. The galaxy had no appetite left for pride. As the council ratified the resolution, Vance stood alone at the edge of the platform, watching the stars stretch out beyond the safety of the artificial dome. Somewhere out there, Earth still smoldered. Families still grieved. Cities still rebuilt. He hadn't brought peace, only pause. An aide approached quietly. "Sir, the people want to know what to call this." Vance thought for a long moment, then answered, "Call it what it was. A warning." He didn't look back. There was no comfort in victory. Only duty. Only memory. And far beyond the horizon, a child's name remained etched in steel, waiting for silence to finally mean safety again. Earth's sky was quiet again. It had taken years, but the scorched scars left by the coalition's assault had healed into something sterner than forgiveness. Towering defense spires now watched the clouds like sentinels, sleek and silent. At night, they hummed, barely audible, a low reminder that Earth no longer waited for help that wouldn't come. General Elias Vance walked the perimeter of New Santiago Memorial Grounds, boots crunching softly on gravel paths. This was where the first strike hit, where chaos bled into resolve. Rows of polished black stones reflected the morning light, each one etched with a name. He stopped at the smallest marker. Sophie Vance, age 8. He knelt. "I kept the promise," he murmured. "No more warnings." Behind him, Elena Markovic approached. She had returned from exile of her own kind, a diplomatic outcast after the coalition attack. Too human for them. Too alien for Earth. But now, she belonged again. The lines in her face had deepened, but her eyes were the same, fierce, sharp, and always scanning. "The Kurel system just signed the new charter," she said softly. "That makes 12 species under Earth's defense pact." Vance didn't rise immediately. "Because they fear us. Not because they trust us. They feared the coalition too. But they trusted them long enough to let fear win." She paused, then added, "You changed that." "No," he said, finally standing. "They changed it. The day they looked at us and thought they could silence us with a demonstration." A child ran past on the path, chasing a drone kite. Laughter cut through the quiet. Vance watched him with a haunted calm, as if the sight was both gift and reminder. "We're still rebuilding," Elena said. "But we've earned the galaxy's attention." He turned to her. "They'll never see us the same again." "Good," she said. "They shouldn't." At Earth's orbital council station, renamed Unity, the galaxy looked different through the station's central viewing ring. The stars no longer felt distant. They felt navigable, mapped, accountable. What had once been a frontier of uncertainty was now a network of treaties, patrol routes, and hard-won cooperation. But not everyone approved. On the far edge of known space, a splinter fleet, former coalition loyalists, gathered. Bitter, defiant, led not by admirals, but by those who believed Earth's rise was a humiliation to be corrected. One such leader, Commander Kreltaran of the Jurati, stood before a fractured assembly of old warlords and new radicals. His voice coiled like a whip. Earth teaches peace through fear. That is not justice. That is control. He gestured to a hologram of Earth's defense grid. We will remind them what it means to earn power. But plans don't survive first contact with truth. As his fleet approached a newly protected world, neutral, fragile, and historically ignored, they found Earth already there. Not in warships but in people. Engineers rebuilding water systems, doctors training alien medics, teachers setting up schools, all under the Earth banner, silver and blue. Kreltaran hesitated. For all his hate, he saw no weapons, only rebuilding. No threats, only presence. Earth had learned the most dangerous lesson of all, how to lead without conquest. Back on Earth, Vance reviewed the report in silence. Kreltaran's fleet had withdrawn without firing a shot. First time in recorded history, his aide said. No retaliation. Just retreat. Vance's eyes didn't leave the screen. That's not weakness. That's what real fear looks like, facing a people who already know loss and choose not to inflict it. Later that evening, he visited Elena again. They stood at the edge of the ocean, where the first orbital wreckage had once crashed into the sea. Now, a monument stood there, a single steel arch, curving skyward with Earth's languages carved along the base. She looked at him, arms folded. Still don't think you're a diplomat? He gave a dry smile. I speak with too many ghosts to be one. And yet, they listen. He nodded, slowly. Because when we said, you attacked our home, we meant all of it. Every inch of soil, every child, every city. That truth hit harder than any weapon. They stood in silence, listening to the tide pull back into the horizon. For the first time in a long time, there was no dread in the wind. Elena looked up. What now? Vance inhaled the salt air, then answered without hesitation. Now we build something better than what tried to break us. Above them, Earth's first interstellar peacekeeper vessel soared past the moon, its name bright on its hull. Memory of light. Not a warship. A promise.